Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more relationship stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story, which comes from See You Later Gone and says, me, 33 male, with my wife, 33 female, of 9 years. She cheated and I'm gone. I will try to keep this brief. Thanks to all of you who have contributed to breakup threads and infidelity threads over the past few months. There have been many evenings when many hours have been spent poring over the advice that is generated from these posts. It has helped me to formulate a plan and then execute it. Here's the short version of the last 7 months. Happily married, no kids, both professionals. My job requires a good bit of travel, which is not a big deal since her job forces her to work 80 plus hours a week. We are both very busy, but her much more than myself. A few things didn't add up last September, so based on the advice on Reddit, the investigating began. It took me a long time to figure out what was going on because she was excellent at covering her tracks. Around November, all of the pieces came together, and outside help was brought in to help me get all my ducks in a row. An attorney was hired, and so was a private eye. In January, everything was confirmed 100% by the PI, and that was all the proof that I needed. After much thought, today is the day that everything ends. I've been planning it since the visual confirmation earlier this year. She is being served at her office today at 4 PM. Based on the conversation she has had with me and conversations she's been having with the other guy, there is no way she has any idea that this is coming from me. It will be a shock, but certainly not a surprise. The divorce will be very simple since we earn about the same amount of money and we didn't have a ton of stuff. The truck is in front of the house and it is now loaded. I am moving out of state. It doesn't matter where I live since I'm in sales and my territory is half of the United States. The furniture that is going with me are the pieces that were given to me by my family when we were married. She can have everything else and she is going to be keeping 3/4 of it anyway. I'm driving the truck myself and can't wait to get my new condo and start a brand new life. My last 6 months have been pure hell. Here is the question, and I think I already know the answer, but would love to hear your opinions. Our other guy is a co-worker at the law firm. He is early 50s with a wife and 3 daughters. They don't appear to work in the same department, and he is not her boss. By all appearances, he has a great family and a great life. Do I contact his wife as I am leaving town? Would you want to know? Am I just being spiteful? Edit. She got the papers. Phone calls and texts non-stop for the last 15 or so minutes. Her sister and mother have phoned me as well. I have not responded to any of them. Also, I am moving from a large city in northeast to Florida. Trying to get to South Carolina tonight and then to my final stop tomorrow. I'm stopping for gas and coffee right now and I really appreciate all the kind words. Edit 2. I'm still on the road, but getting closer to my new home. Last night was very interesting. I did not speak with her or text her. I did speak on the phone with mother and her sister. My words were very careful and thought out to her sister, as I would expect her to hang up the phone with me and tell her everything. Talking to my mum was not easy. It is a humiliating situation to discuss with your family. My mum gave me 100% support and is coming to visit me next weekend at my new place. Mums are the best. I will get settled in and update everything in a couple of days. I've decided to not contact the boyfriend's wife. I could change my mind down the road, but for now, no contact with her is planned. Looking forward to starting anew. And advice on these sort of stories is always firstly, get everything in order. Ducks in a row, as they like to say. From the legal perspective, if this is the path you're going to go down, and, a lot of people would say in the comments from what I've read in previous stories is that always protect yourself first, whatever that may be. And the wife of the other family absolutely deserves to know. I mean, think about how you're feeling, how betrayed you're feeling in this situation, and there's someone exactly the same going through the same situation and likely does not know about it. But some of the comments on this one says, while I always operate under the assumption that I would want to know this, keep in mind that if your wife loses her job over this, then it could have a negative outcome for you in the divorce, as you two will no longer be earning about the same. Ask yourself if the relief you would feel from revenge is worth a potential financial cost. Also, keep in mind that revenge can be delayed. You could wait until your divorce is final and then tell the other guy's wife. That would have less potential to negatively impact you financially. Someone says, ask your divorce lawyer if He thinks this could have a negative impact on your divorce proceedings. As someone pointed out, this could impact your soon-to-be ex-wife's income, and that could impact your divorce. Another one says, I don't know, am I a bad person, but I just fucking love when people like this get the comeuppance. Already imagining the whole, you've been served. Bam. Folder slammed in front of her at 4 p.m. And you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Tell his wife. They made their bed, now they can fucking lay in it. Yours sincerely, an evil Redditor. Opie responded saying, I'm sure that she will rush home after getting this, and when she gets there she will find nothing of mine in our home. I was going to leave my wedding ring on the kitchen counter but decided against that. She deserves everything that comes her way. Another one says, let the guy's wife know. My aunt had this happen to her. No one ever told her and she was kept in the dark for another 5 years. After my uncle and the woman he was cheating on her with got found out by the woman's husband. She was irreparably devastated that everyone seemed to know but her. Letting them know gives her a choice. Someone quotes Opie and says, would you want to know? Am I just being spiteful? Opie says the problem is that both propositions are true. Most likely she would like to know. On the other hand, of course you are being spiteful. Be honest, your motivation right now is to alleviate as much scorched earth as possible. Understandable, but not pretty. But you know what, you don't have to decide right away. The way this is going down is going to have her lover extremely nervous anyway, so your move is already going to jumpstart its anxiety. There may be good reasons for telling his wife, but vengefulness is not one of them. Wait until you're over your first rage and decide the question on its own merits, and not your own rage. Another commenter says, you should probably tell the wife of the guy, just to give her an idea of what she's dealing with. However, before you do so, definitely ask your lawyer for advice on the timing. Make absolutely sure that it won't have any impact on your divorce, such as the consequence of having to pay alimony or something similar. If the lawyer tells you it's okay, go ahead and tell her now. If not, wait until the divorce is finalized, then tell her. Still, definitely tell the wife. This is probably not the first instance of the guy putting his dick where he shouldn't. So, OP then kindly updates the post and says, I got into my new place Friday evening and got unpacked and settled in on Saturday. It is very strange to be starting over again, but it is the right thing to do. Thank you for all your encouragement and your questions. Here are some answers. There was never a response by me to my soon-to-be ex-wife. Her calls and texts went unanswered and they eventually stopped yesterday morning. The last one she sent said that she will sign the papers and grant me the divorce. Wow, thanks. There was some conversation between her sister and myself. We had a brief guarded phone call Thursday night, and then a long and very helpful follow-up on Saturday. While she wants to protect her sister, she understands exactly why I did what I did and does not blame me for it. After the call, there doesn't seem to be any hostility towards me. I'm grateful for that. Based upon many of your suggestions, the other guy's wife will have to remain in the dark from me. Leaving the situation for me means not staying involved. Now, if she called me up and wanted to know what was going on, I'll tell her everything. No hesitation at all. Here is the hard part. How did I catch her? Last summer, there were some subtle changes in her behavior, and each one of these by itself is no biggie. But as a group, they bothered me. She started drinking more. It went from one drink of wine once a week to nearly every night. There are a couple of times where she lost her cool over little things that tend to happen in life. Blowing up at a waitress, guy on the metro, kid at Chipotle, etc. She was never like that before. There was a night where she yelled at her parents on the phone and hung up on them, which was way out of character for her. But here is the one that set this all in motion. At a wedding last fall, one of our college friends was there and recently divorced. The friend was lonely and feeling terrible about herself. My wife suggested that someone should sleep with her to get her confidence back, and that she was alright with it if it was me. Needless to say, I was stunned and never would do anything like that. That night while lying in bed, the only reason that I could think of to make her say that was that she was fooling around and looking for a way to ease her guilt. And I was right. It just took me a little while to piece together what was going on. As stated earlier, the guy is an older man who works for the same firm as her. For a while, they were meeting during the day at different hotels around town. When I was out of town, she was hosting him in our home. They used our guest bedroom, which did not occur to me for almost 6 weeks. After establishing how they communicated, burner phone hidden in their car, and where they were meeting, our house mostly, it was easy for me to gather all evidence that would make it easy for me to file papers. Thank you to the lawyer and private eye. With the PI, you can hear and see everything in graphic detail. There are a lot of tears shed by me when confronted with the blunt reality of what was happening, and what was being said about me to him, and what was happening in my own home. However, as many of you have pointed out, she is the one in the wrong. I can hold my head up high knowing that I did the right thing. Oh well, I hope that answers some questions. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you have dealt with it if it was you? You think you would have told the wife about it? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from a throwaway account who says, "Am I the arsehole for leaving my husband at home? Well, I spend the week at my brother's because of how he buys groceries. I've been in a committed relationship with my husband for 17 years, and overall, things have been great. We've had a few rough patches, but what's important to note is that while he earns more than me and is considered the main provider, I have a substantial trust fund that ensures we're financially stable. I work part-time as a teacher while attending university, earning less than him, and most of my income goes towards tuition. Our household income exceeds 200k annually, while the average in our area is below 50k. One ongoing issue we have is my husband's frugality. He likes to control my spending and have the final say on how he uses his earnings. It's worth mentioning that I've never used any of his income and have no intention to do so. However, the main point of contention between us is his frequent visits to food banks. Despite having more than enough food at home, he insists on going to food banks to save money. He intentionally looks disheveled and uses our beat-up car to blend in, even though he's never experienced food scarcity. I've explained to him the need for food donations in our community, even showing him social media posts from local food banks, but he remains indifferent. I suggested he volunteer or donate to gain first-hand experience, but he refuses. The unfortunate part is that since we're never short on food, most of what he brings home ends up getting thrown away. Today, I discovered our fridge full with fresh produce and meat that clearly didn't come from our regular grocery store. When I confronted him, he admitted going to the food bank after seeing a Facebook post about a donation of fresh food. People on social media were already asking if any was left, and there wasn't. I showed him these comments, but he brushed them off, claiming people should have gone earlier. Exhausted by the situation, I packed a bag and went to stay with my brother for the weekend, asking for space to think things over. My husband accuses me of overreacting, being vindictive, and threatens to go back to the food banks regardless of my feelings. His family is also messaging me, calling me an arsehole and urging me to stop interfering with his choices. I turned off my phone, but now they're bombarding my brother with messages. Thankfully, he supports my decision and ignores them. All I want is to enjoy the rest of my week without being angry at my husband. Yes, I could let this go and not scold him, but the food he takes could have gone to people who truly need it. I'm not leaving my husband, but I need a few days away to gain some clarity. Am I wrong for wanting this space? Now, I always wonder, he said that his family's getting on OP's back. I wonder what he's been telling his family. Has he really been telling his family that he's going to a food bank? He's intentionally going disheveled, driving a beat-up car to make it look like he needs the food. That's disgusting. And his family is just as fucking awful if they know the truth of this situation as well. And the second paragraph for OP themselves, where he likes to control my spending and having the final say, etc. I'm sorry, but if a partner told me that they was intentionally taking from food banks, people in need, in desperate situations, families, I wouldn't be able to live with someone that disgusting. So I'd really consider that break to be something more permanent, but that's obviously up to you. But Few School says, "Not the arsehole, this is completely unhinged. A man making 200k while married to a woman with a trust fund going to a food bank is unacceptable. I couldn't live like that, and I couldn't live with someone controlling how the money was spent. You're absolutely not wrong to want space. I would want permanent space." 12-Day State says, "Not the arsehole times 1000. Your husband is stealing from people that are less fortunate. I'm frugal too, and I like to save money where I can. I use coupons, buy store brand versus name brand for some products, etc. What your husband is doing isn't frugality, it's being a shitty person. I'll go to the food bank with his photo and speak to the person in charge. Tell them you're very sorry your husband has been coming, but you want to let them know that he is not in need of a food bank. If possible, I'd offer to make a charitable donation to cover the food he has taken from them. I don't know if they can outright refuse him or not, but it's worth a shot. He should be aware. For you say he likes to control how you spend money. He sounds financially abusive. Please consider making that week away from him permanent. ETA, you have access to his finances. This may be an overreaction, but I'll be worried he's committing welfare fraud as well. Riker says, I cannot conceive the level of entitlement here. That food is designated for people who literally cannot afford to fill their bellies and the bellies of their families. My family needed those donations when I was young, and as soon as my parents started doing well financially, they started giving back as much as possible. It makes me sick to think of someone dressing in dirty clothes and conning food out of the bellies of people that genuinely need it. You are married to a con man. How does he not see how disgusting this is? I'm seriously concerned that his response to you trying to reason with him is to saying he's going to go to more food banks. What a vindictive and gross response. Considering you have thrown food away due to having too much, my response would be, fine, you're doing this to save money. For every food bank you visit, I will go to a grocery store and spend no less than $500 on groceries, which I will immediately donate to the food banks. Since you don't care about my opinion on your saving habits, you have no say on how I spend either. Fuck that dude, not the arsehole. Edit. I agree with comments saying that you should give the money directly to the food banks. It does go farther that way. The petty part of me likes the image of bringing in piles of food, putting it on the counter and then taking it to the food bank. More of a visual for him to see that this food is for someone else, not you. I worry that money leaving her account won't be much of a deterrent for him, though it could certainly alleviate her guilt while she's eating someone else's food. 20 minutes to sleep says, girl, why the fuck have you spent close to 2 decades with someone who tries to control your spending and literally steals from people who can't afford groceries? I don't care that anyone can go to the food bank. You're bringing home $200k a year and you get groceries from a food bank, you're stealing food from people who need the charity. Not the arsehole, and please, oh my god, divorce him yesterday. JNF said, not the arsehole, this isn't frugality. It's literally taken from those who are less fortunate. He knows it's wrong because he intentionally tries to look poorer to sell the con. He just doesn't give a shit. The dude sucks and his family sucks too. If his takeaway from your objections to behavior that's obviously objectively wrong is to dig his heels in even further, that's a massive red flag going forward. Because not only is he an awful person towards others, he also doesn't care about your feelings at all. Wow. Lost for words on that guy. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's have another story from GG Lamb, who says, am I the arsehole for kicking out my sister because she wouldn't respect my wife? I, 32 male, and my wife, 31 female, sleep in separate bedrooms. It sounds a little weird, but it isn't. My wife has went through some things, and one thing she refuses to do is sleep in the same room as someone. The only exception is babies and children. She told me from the beginning she trusts me with every fiber of her being, but she just cannot do it. Of course I didn't care, and I have my own little bat cave where I sleep. Now, here's where the actual story is. My sister, 27 female, asked if she could stay over at our house for the weekend because apparently her and her roommate got into an argument. Me and my wife agreed, and I told my sister about my wife's room thing. If you know she's sleeping, don't go in there. My sister was always kind of a spoiled brat, but it really shone here. She complained that the bed in the guest room was too lumpy, and she didn't want to sleep in my room because of my man smell. After all this, it was obvious that she would complain about the couch too. I told her my wife's room was off limits. There was either the options we gave her or she could find a motel. She agreed and everything seemed fine, until I woke up at 3 in the damn morning to my wife yelling along with my sister. When I went to go and see what happened, my wife was crying and my sister was just yelling back. I learned now that my sister sleeps in her underwear, so that made it even worse. I got into the argument and started yelling at my sister to get her crap and get out. We had one rule and she broke it. Her last statement was calling my wife a crybaby. My wife told me that my sister was trying to sleep in her room, possibly trying to kick her out. After that, I got text messages and calls from my parents saying that I was a horrible brother for kicking her out like that and agreeing with her saying that my wife was a crybaby and she should suck it up. Of course, I just didn't listen to it, but my wife came to me and started talking about how I could have handled it better and how she got text from my mother saying the same. She said later the same day that she's happy I protected her. Still don't know why she said that, but it was probably my mother. This is really for if I should apologize and get my parents off my ass. Am I the arsehole? Absolutely not the arsehole in this situation, and I wouldn't back down to your family at all. She had, like you said, one rule, one boundary she didn't have to cross. You offered her multiple things and she still tried to sneak in and climb into bed with someone else? That's absolutely wild. And that's without even considering what your wife was going through, your wife's trauma, whatever that may be. You set a rule. All she had to do was follow it. She broke it. So, I don't blame you for kicking her out. And the family, the sisters saying that, your wife's a crybaby after this, fuck that. Fuck them. Illustrious Shirt says, not the arsehole, you offered your sister 3 different beds to sleep on. And instead she chooses to literally sneak into one room she's been told isn't up for grabs in the middle of the night. I'm pretty sure she's a character from a fairy tale. Goldilocks comes to mind. Evan says, your sister is absolutely unhinged. Your wife's trauma doesn't even play into this. It is baffling beyond comprehension that someone would climb into bed with someone else without being invited in the middle of the night, half naked. Not the arsehole. Eagle Bait says, not the arsehole. Your sister broke a huge trust boundary. No matter what she thinks of it, your wife very obviously does. There is now going to be a massive rift regarding trust between your sister and wife. Standing up for your wife is 100% the right thing. Your family can either understand or go pound sand, or kick a rock too. Personally, kicking her out was the right thing. Keep this in mind, not everyone is okay with strangers waking them up. I deal with PTSD. I'm highly trained. I'm a very light sleeper, and when a strange sound wakes me up, I go into alert mode and must investigate. I don't have a choice. So imagine the incident if someone I did not know managed to sneak into my room and woke me up, not knowing who it was. Your sister should consider herself lucky it didn't go down that route. Odd Knowledge says, you are not the arsehole but your sister. Wow, she really is. I'm so glad you stuck up for your wife. You obviously are a decent and supportive husband. You do need to say to your mother that she absolutely cannot message your wife with issues like this. If your mother has a problem with your household, she comes to you to be shut down. She does not get to bully and belittle your wife and her trauma in her own home. Buttercup Grump says, not the arsehole. Your sister was told no in no uncertain terms that your wife's room was off limits. She chose to sneak in there while your wife was asleep anyway. You did the right thing by kicking her out. I read your comments about your wife's sexual trauma. I can't even imagine how scared she must have been, waking up with a barely clothed person in her bed without her knowledge or consent. Even without the trauma, your sister would still be in the wrong. It might be best to limit or cut contact with your sister and your parents if she truly doesn't think she did anything wrong. Now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. It's definitely a not the arsehole either way, but the absolute audacity of someone, again, not mentioning the trauma, just to walk around in the middle of the night, sneak into someone else's room, and potentially climb into bed with someone else is just insane to me. What do you guys make of this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, I appreciate your time. And hopefully I will see you in the next one. Take care and much love.